into the resolution that we called the special meeting for, that we need to discuss and review. And
thank you. Sorry.
You're welcome.
I do have the resolution that can be read, so
you're muted.
Yep.
Can we just have Jamie read it first, and then Bob can put it up?
Or at the same time.
Yeah, that's fine. Whatever the pleasure of the board is.
It can be done simultaneously.
Okay, well, we have a split decision on that.
well,
Why don't you just read it, and then we'll put it up so everybody's listening to, and then they can read it. But they'll have it in front of them.
Okay. Resolution 515-2020. Effective immediately, by this resolution, Lebanon County will operate under the yellow phase of the Plan for Pennsylvania, as put forth by the governor in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Further, the undersigned Board of Commissioners of the County of Lebanon, Pennsylvania, declare that, effective Monday, May 18, 2020, the county will expand publicly accessed services at the municipal building and some satellite offices on a limited basis. And whereas, while Lebanon County government services are being expanded, this resolution is not a binding or directive on any private sector enterprise that operates within Lebanon County. Limitations on businesses still exist at the civil and state level, and it is incumbent upon those businesses to know the risks, especially if subject to state-led regulation or licensure. And whereas, business conducted with Lebanon County government under the yellow phase must act in accordance with the following safety measures. Individuals must wear a mask whenever they are on county-directed facility grounds and/or while conducting business with county employees. Individuals must schedule an appointment with county departments for in-person transactions. Departments shall stagger appointments in a manner determined by the head of the department. Individuals entering county facilities must submit to medical screening procedures conducted by the Lebanon County Sheriff's Department or departmental personnel. Whereas Lebanon County residents have met the challenges set forth by the governor's original stated intent to mitigate the spread of the virus and to flatten the curve of the COVID-19 pandemic. Testing was increased to the highest percentage among surrounding counties. Our residents socially distanced, sheltered in place when asked. Businesses closed their doors. Our case numbers have steadily declined. Now it is time to move on together. And whereas the undersigned county commissioners empathize with the residents and business owners who wish to return to work so that they can provide for their families and to minimize the economic strain on their finances, while following established safety guidelines and continuing to work with the healthcare system to provide needed support in specific areas of the county that are still experiencing a COVID-19 onset. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the undersigned Lebanon County Commissioners declare that Lebanon County will operate under the yellow phase of the Plan for Pennsylvania while adhering to all established safety guidelines, and that together we will emerge from this pandemic with both our physical health and a thriving business sector.
Jamie, has there been any thought given to closing common areas like the cafeteria? I was looking at the VA hospital site this morning, and under their guidelines, they have 3 phases of opening. And one of the guidelines that caught my attention was closing common areas. And I thought, it just takes one person that's positive to sit down at a table and we don't catch it, and then it gets spread to others that sit there.
It's certainly possible. My thought toward that would be that certainly anyone being in that particular area you mentioned, the vending machine room, cafeteria area, would need to socially distance just as they would anywhere else. If they utilize a table in the room, there will be there's regular cleaning. Actually, escalated the cleaning back in March. So yes, it's possible to do that. It's also possible to do signage that would remind people to do all of those other things if they're in that room. But
and is there hand sanitizer and things in the cafeteria?
I
We
don't
can
know
make sure there is.
offhand, but we certainly could. I mean, we've got some supplies for the employees. We could make it available right there at that counter. Sure.
My suggestion might be that we just put a sign up that it is not available to visitors, employees only. I mean, that's, we're trusting them to be in the building and moving among us. Why wouldn't we entrust them to, be prudent in the cafeteria? But I wouldn't extend that to visitors. Okay. Bill, do you have any opposition to adding hand sanitizer language and
I would have no problem with doing that when we have a motion to have that included in the motion. I would suggest that Commissioner Litz make the motion and include those items that she wants, and Jamie can record them and have them included.
I'm not interested in making the motion, but if it does go through, I think it's important that we consider the common areas and the hand sanitizers.
Can the county administrator just make note of those things and have them included?
Yeah, I can. I'm going to just come up with an additional bullet point to that. In the meantime, I'll have something for you by the time you're ready.
Thank you.
do we want to take public comment first, or do we want to put a motion on the floor and then use that as the discussion time?
We can put a motion on the floor if you want to.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution as printed with an additional bullet point to be disclosed before we vote.
Is there a second to the motion to have discussion, public input? Is she muted or no? Okay, well, in the absence of a second, I will be happy to provide that motion. I think it's important that we hear from the public on this important issue. So I'll
So the commissioners comment first and then go to the public. Isn't that protocol?
Sure, you may speak if you'd like to be first.
I will gladly go first. Again, I feel that I wanted to re-emphasize that slow and steady, like the tortoise and the hare, is more important than rushing out of the gate. We have been making progress, but we're not out of this yet. I did study some charts given by Tom Harlow. I found them in an email this morning. However, what I noticed was that it ended on 5/11, and the next day we had 10 new cases, which was 5/12, and the following day we had 24 new cases, which was 5/13. And again, yesterday we had 7 new cases. That's 41 new cases in only 3 days, and we have 4 days left in the week. So we are not going to be below. And we also increased deaths from 16 to 19. So we are not going to be below the state threshold. We are under a governor's mandate, like it or not. The Supreme Court has said that his ruling and his executive order is valid. So we do need to follow that. And to push this through before we are in the correct zone by the state is going to be confusing and misleading to the public. This morning, I also noticed that the Chamber of Commerce put up all of the different, it was over 200 licenses that the state issues that could be in jeopardy if people open. We don't want to send a mixed message. This should not be political. This is a life and death issue, not a Republican and Democrat issue. We need to do the right thing, and the right thing is to wait till the end of the month or June 1st and then look at this again. That's about the time that was predicted from the very beginning that we would be out of this thing. And things will turn the other way. In 14 days, we're going to have an escalation if people decide to open prematurely. Then it'll go another 3 months to run the cycle again. So I really beg you to reconsider this move at this time.
Are you suggesting, Commissioner Litz, that we shouldn't open the courthouse then?
At this time, correct. Even the judge is not opening other than for emergencies until June 1st. That is that was established some time ago. We reevaluate this every couple of weeks. And so to have part of the courthouse, and maybe in the resolution, there should also be something that says no more than 50% of our employees can be on site at the same time, again, to allow for social distancing. That's another part of some of the other guidelines I've seen to give guidance to the departments. I just think it's being rushed and it's premature, and we should keep the courthouse in consistency with the courts, which would go till June 1st.
Bill, do you have anything else?
Well, just in response to that, I think, I don't know if Commissioner Litz has reviewed the plans that have been provided by the department heads and the row officers, but they address the staffing issues and things like that in their plans that they put forth. And just as a general comment, I would like to say that I received obviously many comments from the public, and I appreciate those, and both pro and con. And I thought a few times my phone was going to melt down. I tried to respond at least with a thank you to every one of those. And I would also like to say, just as a general comment, that some of them were very strong, and at least one pointed out character flaws of all three commissioners. But I would like to say that I would like to apologize for any character flaws that I revealed or will reveal during a public meeting. I apologize for those. I will definitely work on correcting those, and especially today. So with that said, thank you. I think in almost all cases, even at the state level, the recommendations always come from the medical community, and politicians don't make those recommendations, or office holders don't make those recommendations. So I would, as I always have been, be willing to allow the medical folks that are the experts, should there be a resurgence or an uptick, certainly to listen to their recommendations.
Well, that's an interesting comment, because I read Stephanie Andreazzi, who is a doctor and the head of the ICU at WellSpan.
Well, I think the commissioners in the County of Lebanon are my client, just like any other client would be. I respond and answer to questions and provide legal guidance, in my opinion, and they act as they see fit in their best judgment and interest on behalf of the county.
May I make a clarification? I see here, I believe it's Dan Sedelnik, but I know there's more than one, so I'm not 100% sure. But he says, as I listened to the resolution, I thought I understood it stated that the county offices were opening in the yellow phase, but the citizens are still following state guidelines, which are red. Can you please clarify? And I think this interpretation is correct.
Okay. I'd like to finish up with Dave and Ann, and then we can address Sedelnik's question. Or take, are we finished?
Okay. I guess the answer, what I'm really wanting to know is whether he is recommending this resolution be passed or not to the commissioners, but I realize that may not be in the realm of something he can answer. So that is really the essence of my question. If that can be answered, fine, and if not, I understand that that's, client attorney privilege question, perhaps.
Okay.
I believe I've answered the question as fully as I can.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your answering my questions.
Someone brought up something with Attorney Sedelnik, I believe it was, or I'm not sure it was
I'm
Attorney.
not sure which Sedelnik it is. It might be the father.
Yeah, I
Does
think
it say
it says Daniel, not Nicholas.
Does it? I couldn't see a first name. Yes,
Okay.
the point is that the resolution is to open the courthouse and that businesses are still in the red zone, according to the governor's order. We have no authority to tell businesses that they're in the yellow zone, is what it's saying.
Thank you.
Okay, now Chris Coyle from lebtown.com. 3 real quick questions about Dr. McCauley's letter that was read by Bob. Number 1, what is the date of the letter? Number 2, can we get a copy of that? And number 3, what is Dr. McCauley's affiliation, such as hospital or medical group? That's all I have.
May 14th is the date on the letter. I cannot circulate permission to anyone. And the reason that he asked to have it read was that he couldn't be here and didn't want his affiliation made public.
Okay, so May 14th letter. Oh, I'm
Yep.
sorry.
He may be willing to share that with you, but I am not at liberty to share that information.
Okay, so May 14 letter, and the letter cannot be shared, and his affiliation, if any, cannot be shared. Am I correct in the understanding? At which point I'll shut up.
No, you're correct to this point, but I will be happy to. I don't know Dr. McCauley, but I will follow up with him to see if he can connect. If I can give your phone number, you can talk with him and see where he
Sure.
can go as far as disclosures and giving you a copy.
I appreciate that. Is he based in Lebanon County, if you know?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Commissioner Phillips, wouldn't that fall under right to know if you received a communication that he would have a right to a copy of that?
Well, if Chris would like to file a right to know request, that's another way he can do it. But I'll be happy just to call Dr. McCauley or follow up with an email and see if we can just do it that way. But whatever, I'm assuming that it's, not a big deal to communicate with him.
Ed Madden here with PA Post WITF. Thank you for taking questions. I just want to make sure I'm clear. Is this resolution symbolic for businesses? And is the resolution specifically what you have control of as county government, and for the rest is symbolic? And if so, I just if you can speak to why that is.
I think the reason it appears to be symbolic only is because the county commissioners do not have the authority to override really what the governor has set in place. So we are seizing the opportunity of, while we're opening our county facilities, which we have legal stance to do, we are also taking the opportunity to communicate the importance of opening our businesses and the economy in the county. But we have made it clear from the outset, and even in earlier discussions, that we're not authorizing businesses to open. We are standing up as an example of how it should be done with our county offices.
And so just to follow up, and so you see that this resolution as a way of telling businesses that they are free to open if they are comfortable doing so, starting now?
Yes, I would say so.
And that the local district attorney has said that she will not prosecute folks that do open.
Thank you for all you're doing. That's all I have to say.
You're welcome, Diane.
I will, in response, or at least to tie it with what was just said, if this is passed as a resolution, and even if it's not, we do know where the hotspots for new cases are coming from. And the goal would be then to communicate with the Community Health Council and other groups that can, Family First, Welsh Mountain, Volunteers in Medicine, all that deal with populations of the vulnerable folks, and focus on those zip codes, primarily 17042 and 046, to really pound them with education and communication to give this the best chance of continuing. Now we're 8 weeks into it, so it's assumed that people are aware, and but we're just not making a lot of headway in those two zip codes that we think we should be. So that's a hot spot, I think, that we should work on, and other, maybe some businesses that are showing to deal with the owners of those businesses if they're getting an upsurge in cases. But those are things that we can do proactively to prevent a resurgence. Next call.
Russ Diamond, yes.
Thank you so much for taking my call. Thank you, commissioners, for showing the courage to actually move forward with this resolution. I do want to clarify, the previous caller had asked about religious institutions. The governor doesn't give permission to any religious institution. Religious institutions are exempt from every activity of government, including the courts, the General Assembly, and the governor. Pennsylvania was founded upon religious freedom, and any officer of government who tries to interfere with that is violating the very precepts of our founding. But again, I want to thank you all for your courage for moving forward with this resolution. Commissioner Litz, and you talked about it a little bit in response to the last call, this 50 of 100,000 figure. First of all, I want to let you know that the governor has ignored that figure in other counties. He opened up Allegheny County, and they are not in that figure. So I wanted to ask you, Commissioner Litz, because I've asked you a similar question on your Facebook page. Can you tell me anyone, any expert, any scientist, any medical professional who is the author of the 50 out of 100,000 figure? Or can you name any expert medical professional other than Dr. Levine or the governor who has come up with any of these edicts?
Well, I pointed out at our last meeting that Dr. Fauci, who is the advisor to the president, has said that we're not in a position to open up everything at this point.
He's advising the president. I'm asking you about who's advising Dr. Levine and Governor Wolf.
So they're not allowed to take Dr. Fauci's advice?
I'm not sure they're on the phone with him. All right. Well, thank you, commissioners, for your time. I appreciate everybody else's comments, and I concur with most of the commenters so far. Have a good day, everyone.
Thanks, Russ.
I don't know, Bob, how many do you have in the queue?
Right now there's 12 raised hands.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. 2 minutes sounds logical for that many.
Yeah, I think 2 minutes is reasonable. Hopefully they can, make them.
Let's go back to the preamble.
Okay, there's some things I'm clear on as I follow along here on how you want to change the wording. Other things I think I still need a little bit more clarification. Currently I have that the preamble, the desire is to specify that further beyond just the words Lebanon County. I have that in the in the 4 items that are specified that county government will follow, adding in common areas in county-directed facilities such as break rooms and assembly rooms will be adequately furnished with sanitizing supplies, if that suffices. I have changing economic strain to economic devastation in the second last paragraph. And I'm still unclear on the reference to childcare services and how you want to specify the preamble, I guess. If I need a little help on that one.
Okay. I don't think I need to insert the childcare thing reference in there. That's going to be a lot of parents are going to have to deal with whatever, going back to work and so on, just as they would once school is over and the child, so I think we have just the preamble to deal with is to get clarity. Okay. Bill, do you have any particular wording to make, just, in other words, I don't want to be going this far and then have it vague. That's my goal to come out of this, is that if I wanted people to be clear on what I'm voting for and what my intent is, and I think that adding the reference to businesses is good, and I want to make sure that we have that it's not just county government. I don't know how best to express that, but I also want somehow to be clear that it is on their risk to participate in yellow.
That's exactly where I am. I guess I want to be able to encourage folks to act according to the rights that they have. But on the other hand, I don't want them to be lulled into a sense of security that the county is saying that we're going to support them legally in battles for their licenses. I don't know how we can do that. I'm not sure.
Well, as I said before, the differentiation that currently exists in the resolution is Lebanon County and Lebanon County government. But it sounds like you, in the preamble there, you want to add something to Lebanon County to further specify that it includes businesses. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I think that has to be part of it, but with the addendum or some, well, go ahead, Jamie.
May I suggest Lebanon County public and private sector?
Yeah, anything to get clarity. Yeah. There's a lot of and I think this is going to boil down to the business. They're going to have to proceed as they go from one color to another. They're going to have to decide, what are the repercussions of this move? So for people to call in and say, well, people are confused, they got to get clarity before they make the next move. And so we don't want to be vague in preamble of this thing. So I think whatever you can do, Jamie, to get that. And I think private and public sector public and private sector is a good way to do it. And then that would help a lot. Is that do enough?
Yes.
Is that?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
When
Right,
appropriate, before we vote, I'd like to summarize my thoughts.
So those would be then the changes that would be incorporated if you adopt this. So I'll just, I've on the fly right here, making those changes and pushing them back out is a little bit of a challenge, but just understood that I can recap those if you'd like. The preamble would be amended to say Lebanon County public and private sector will operate under the yellow phase of the plan for Pennsylvania. The itemized requirements under county government operating would then include common areas in county-directed facilities such as break rooms and assembly rooms will be adequately furnished with sanitizing supplies. And in the second to last paragraph, it would state that the undersigned county commissioners empathize with the residents and business owners who wish to return to work so that they can provide for their families and to minimize the economic devastation on their finances, etc. Those are the changes I have.
Robin Conwell suggested that it should also state that this is not a binding resolution on businesses, to be perfectly clear.
There is a mention of that. If I could say, the third paragraph. Whereas, while Lebanon County government services are being expanded, this resolution is not a binding or directive on any private sector enterprise that operates within Lebanon County.
That's clear.
Commissioner Phillips, if I may, if one of the commissioners would like to make a motion, I would suggest the appropriate motion would be a motion to amend the existing motion on the table to adopt the resolution, incorporating the amendments that Jamie just read.
I'll make that, I'll move to do that.
So we're amending the motion that's already on the floor.
Yes.
Which would make the amendments to the adoption of the resolution, correct?
Gotcha. Yep, yep. Is there a second? I'll second the motion. Any further discussion? Joellen, did you want to give your summary or your?
Surely. Again, I think that public health and safety of our citizens is the goal here. And we are in a pandemic with a red order on us by the state that has been upheld by the Supreme Court. And we can't change that. We don't have that authority. So that puts the county in a liable situation, and we may experience lawsuits, like it or not, because local businesses may also lose their licenses, and we have no formal plan. We don't have enough PPE for all of the hospitals, much less rest of the businesses. There's just not enough around for them to comply with the resolution being proposed. We don't have adequate contact tracing, and we need more general testing for COVID-19. And of course, the other issue that was brought up is childcare is a big issue. The children will be more at risk if they're placed into childcare, and those childcare centers could be at risk of losing their licenses. They are state licensed. So I just wanted to summarize the possibility of the challenges that are out there, because it's so important that people not have false hope. I want people to have hope, but not false hope. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Anything else, Bill? Any other comments before we vote?
Just very briefly, I just wanted to recount something to those folks that are listening as an example of why I support this. In the John Wright restaurant in Wrightsville, Pennsylvania, which sits on a beautiful site on the riverbanks, he has a situation where he has acres of land there on the river. And he thought it would be really nice if folks came to pick up food, according to the guidelines that restaurants are open for pickup and delivery. And he put tables out on the riverbank there and spaced them, obviously having no problem spacing them far apart. And folks were coming in and picking up their food and going to those tables and eating their dinner. And they interviewed folks. They were saying, you know, at least we had hot food. We didn't have to take it home. It was a pleasant experience. And lo and behold, the state came and shut them down, or said that they could not do this. And if they continued to do it, they were going to lose their liquor license, which to a restaurant and a bar, obviously that's the kiss of death. And again, a way of encouraging folks to do what you want them to do by threatening. So folks were actually going across the street to a park there, and the folks in Wrightsville Borough, the leadership there, who I think were also courageous and wanted to go another step, closed down the road, part of the road in front of the John Wright restaurant, and put tables out so that people could go there, saying that now it's not an infraction against Mr. Wright or the owner of John Wright restaurant, but it was borough property where the tables were being placed. What I want to accomplish as a county commissioner here in Lebanon County is to give the folks in our county the same hope that the elected officials in Wrightsville gave that restaurant owner. And that's why I'll support this resolution.
Any other discussion before we vote?
Just a point of clarification again, Commissioner Phillips. The
Yes.
initial vote here would be on amending the motion, which again is adopting the resolution, and then there would be a second vote if this passes, then that actually votes on the resolution itself.
Thank you. All in favor of the amendment to the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. And so now we have a motion on the entire amended resolution.
Correct.
So we'll seek a motion for that.
You
I'll
have
make a motion.
You
Oh,
had
I'm
a
sorry.
motion on the floor, didn't you?
I thought we did have a motion
you did.
originally.
We would just call for a vote at this time on the amended motion.
Okay. All in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, so moved.
I don't hear your votes. Are you voting?
Yes, I voted. Yeah.
No, Commissioner Phillips, I
Oh,
heard
I'm
him.
sorry.
I didn't hear him voting.
Aye.
I think it was simultaneous and one stepped over the other.
Sorry.
Okay. Well, thank you all for joining us and for being with us for this meeting. This is obviously a very difficult place that we're in right now, but we feel that we're moving in the right direction as far as the majority of us. And I will continue to run my office as doing the best that I can as I see it for Lebanon County, and I'm asking God to help me see what's right. So that's where I'm at. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Would you accept the motion to adjourn?
Yes, sir.
So moved.
God bless everyone and be safe. Second.
One bit of housekeeping, I will have an amended version of that, and we can post it on the county's webpage.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob Dowd.
No problem.